Jimmy Reed with Sidar Builders. I have the privilege today to be talking with Tanner Graham of Guaranteed Rate, and then also Temple Gutierrez, who's our sales professional on our team. And again, my name is Jimmy, and I am the executive administrator and co-founder here at Sidar Builders. And this episode, we're going to be talking about your home financial journey series. And so I guess, Tanner, thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate you being on the Sidar Cast with us. Tell us a little bit about Guaranteed Rate and what you guys do.
Yeah, so Guaranteed Rate's one of the largest retail lenders in the country, which with that we have a lot of economy of scale, great pricing, rates in the name, so we can always ensure to give you the best deal there. I'm the branch manager at my location, so I have full control over pricing and incentives that we can offer to our clients, especially with a great builder like Sidar. So yeah, we have a full complement of about 175 products in-house and can broker out about another 200. So if you have a need, we can meet it.
That's awesome, man. And Temple, how long have we been working with Tanner and with Guaranteed Rate now?
Yeah, so I think our first transaction that we did together was in 2019, if I remember.
Wow.
Or 2020.
I think 2020.
2020, and we've done, I know Tanner and I have done 10 transactions together in that time.
Okay, that's awesome, man. Well, again, we're so fortunate to be able to be here, and something that's on a lot of people's minds, obviously, right now is interest rates.
Yep.
And so, with this series about your home financial journey, we're really going to dive in a little bit into what it looks like to build a home with Sidar Builders in regards to your lending journey. And so, man, tell us what interest rates are doing today. That's probably a loaded question, right? But tell us what interest rates are doing today. And really, if we're diving down, tell us about how that impacts people at our price point. So our price point is about $300,000 to about $380,000 for people.
Yeah, so today specifically, we are up a little bit in the market, which up is good in this case because the mortgage for most people goes off the 30-year mortgage-backed security. It's essentially like a stock. So as that goes higher, that's going to push interest rates lower. So today we're up a little bit, and we were on a very good trajectory from the beginning of the year till the beginning of February. Then we started to have some turbulent waters with inflation reports, jobs reports, things like that, and we've lost some ground there. Ultimately, the forecast for interest rates over the course of 2023 is that they're going to continue to get better. It's not going to be a straight line. I wish it was, but there's going to be some turbulent waters there, and that's where working with a lender that really knows that projection, knows your all's build cycles, can help time that market to get you the absolute best terms on the rates. So, the two big things that we're looking at for what is going to cause interest rates to go down is going to be the economic health, whether we actually dip into a recession that's called, and then the inflation data, which is the number one driver of why rates went up over 2022. Yeah. So the projection with what the Fed has done is that it is working. We have seen multiple reports month over month that those rates have, the inflation's come down, rates have come down alongside. And like you said, what does that ultimately, like where does the rate now versus what we projected to look like due to your monthly payment? So at like a mid 300s loan amount, 1% in interest is going to be about $180 a month.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So as we go from 7 to 6 to 5 to 4, then you're going to see a pretty drastic difference. But as I'm sure we'll talk about coming up, why is this a good time to buy versus then? There's always going to be a direct correlation between cash to close and your monthly payment. So right now is a great time to get in cheap, and you can always refinance in the future.
Well, Tanner, tell us a little bit about, so what we do here at Sidar Builders is someone will come in the door and we'll say, we'll start the conversation about what it's like to work with a preferred lender. And then we get them in contact with you. So what does that conversation usually look like when you're talking to those folks?
Yeah, so the initial conversation, we try to make it as painless as possible. It's about 10 or 15 minutes over the phone up front. That way I can get some basic information about the client and put together a file. We really take a white glove approach to each client, and throw anything that they may or may not know out the window when we start to look at their file, because they may have a preconceived notion that I want to go with an FHA loan. Well, their credit's 800 and they're a first-time home buyer. Their concern is cash to close. Well, conventional first-time home buyers can go 3% down rather than 3.5% down. So we'll have that initial conversation. Again, 10, 15 minutes over the phone, mostly information you're going to know off the top of your head. I'll take about 10 or 15 more minutes off the phone to structure everything, and then come back with a few options and investors, some estimated monthly payments and things like that, to let them get a better feel for what they're really looking at for a mortgage payment.
Okay. And so, something that we say is we want people to make sure that they have their financial house in order, right, Temple, whenever they come in. And sometimes people come in with their own pre-qual. And then at that point, it's possible to feel like, well, I've already started down this financial road with this particular person. So what happens in that instance where we say, we'd really like for you to talk with one of our preferred lenders? Does it hurt their credit to talk with you, or what? I mean, what should they do?
Yeah, so it does not hurt their credit. Inside of 30 days, another mortgage-related inquiry is not going to have any effect on their credit.
Okay.
So it kind of comes back to the old Geico commercial, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more, right?
Right, yeah.
So another 10, 15 minutes with me over the phone could potentially save you, hundreds a month on your monthly payment, thousands at closing. It's really a no-brainer. Just take that time, shop that around, and make sure you're getting the best deal on the financing, because it is a large purchase and it can be scary. So make sure that the information the original lender gave you is correct. If I'm saying the same thing to you, then you can rest easy that it's probably accurate information.
So are you of the opinion that everybody that comes to you is going to have a tailored fit financial synopsis at the very end that's going to be just exactly what they need? Or do you feel like there's a one size fits all?
There's never one size fits all, because there's so many different things that go into a mortgage. Everybody's credit, their assets that they have to put down are going to be different. Their need for the future is going to be different. Where maybe only one of the individuals is working currently, but in the near future somebody's going to be getting another job. The kids are getting older and they're going back into the workforce. So we really take a look at it not only from where we stand today, but also what do we look like in 6 months, a year, from your financial goals and from what the market's going to do. So a lot of lenders right now are charging people 2-3 discount points to buy down their interest rate and say, hey, here's a really low rate. Well, if you're going to refinance in 12, 15 months, it doesn't make sense to do that, because your return on investment on that money is not going to be good. So we just really try to take every person's financial situation and their needs and wants and form that tailor-made plan for them.
That's awesome, man. Well, since we're talking about, a tailor-made really financial plan for the mortgage, that kind of thing, what kind of incentives these days are being offered, typically from the lender's perspective? And then I'll also ask Temple, like, what is Sidar Builders? What are we doing specifically these days as well?
Yeah, so from my perspective with Sidar clients, I pay for the appraisal. So that's a cost that you don't have and helps really lower that closing cost. Now, some people are really flush with cash and they would rather have that credit on their interest, like those discount points. I can use that credit however they see fit or is best for their financial situation. So while the base is, yes, I'll pay for your appraisal, in some instances, maybe they would prefer to have that credit focused somewhere else, but we, again, tailor that to wherever's best for them.
Okay, awesome. Temple, talk a little bit about, we spent a long time trying to come up with what we want to provide as far as incentives, and really at Sidar Builders, we want to provide value to our people. That's one of the biggest things that we like to provide. So what are we doing these days in regards to incentives?
Yeah, so we're giving every home buyer that comes and goes under contract with us between $5,000 to $10,000 at closing, and so they could use that. Well, not just at closing, I guess. They could use that for upgrades. They could use that for a rate buy down. to pay for closing costs, to reduce the sales price, kind of whatever the hurdle is for them to purchase a home. We're trying to help alleviate it as much as possible. And so I feel like that's a pretty good incentive, I would hope. It seems to be working.
Yeah, and so how that relates to the financial journey is with the Sidar Builders credit. Really, what we would want to do is we would want to get with Tanner to try to figure out, well, so what does the contract need to look like? What does the financing addendum need to look like? Those kinds of things. So there are some granular aspects to however we want to, again, tailor make as far as their purchase of a Sidar Builders home.
Yeah, and exactly. With every individual person, there's going to be two factors we look at with that credit. Do you want the lowest cash to close or the lowest monthly payment? So can we take that credit and cover your closing costs and you have a lower cash to close? Absolutely. Can we take that and can we use like a temporary buy down, like a 2-1 buy down? That's going to drastically affect that monthly payment, but your closing costs are going to be a little higher because you use that asset for something else. Absolutely. It's just a matter, again, of tailoring it to that person's needs.
Yeah, and that you got quite a few terms that you started talking about here, and so man, what we really want to do is we really want to get our buyers to talk to a preferred lender so that we know exactly what it takes to get them into the home of their dreams. So So really, we have two different types of buyers at Sidar Builders. We have the prepared buyer. We have the buyer that's bought before, and so they've been through this process once or twice or maybe 3 times, and so they'll come in. They have their own set of questions. What do you typically see that would be the biggest piece of advice for what I'm calling the prepared buyer in regards to this market, in regards to buying a Sidar Builders house?
Yeah, so for a prepared buyer, you really just need to know what's important to you. Then we can tailor that plan to them. With the prepared buyers, it's also important to not take too much information. If you bought a house 8 years ago, try to assume that is the same environment, same lending requirements and restrictions we're still operating under. So have an open mind to maybe it's a little bit different. Doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that listen to the lender and let them explain to you why things are the way that they are.
Okay.
With that, we do this day in and day out. I look at every loan like it's my own to ensure that I'm giving that client the best possible terms on the money.
Yeah, man.
Don't argue because when we did our loan back in 2012, it was this way. Well, that's great, but this is 2023. Let's use the best resources we have available now.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. What would be the advice for the first time home buyer that Temple brings to you?
Yeah. So first time home buyers, really important to have this conversation as early in the process as possible. So don't wait until your lease is up next month and try to come and buy a house, whether the house is done or not. There's always something we can do to improve your credit, to have you save up a little bit more money to use that to get better terms on the money long term, because the mortgage is really the cornerstone of a person's portfolio these days. You can gain a lot of net worth if you set it up correctly. So you can drastically affect your financial standing long term. And the earlier you talk to me about, okay, I have a 640 credit score, well, I want to buy in 4 months. Well, maybe I can get that 640 up to 740 and give you better terms on the money. Why not have that conversation a couple of months earlier when it doesn't cost you anything but a little bit of your time to put yourself in better financial position in the long run?
So say that one more time. Say that one more time about the mortgage being the cornerstone. If you can repeat that again, because I think that's huge in regards to the American dream. Buying a home is one of the largest investments that you will ever make for the average American. And obviously, for Temple and me and the remainder of our team, that is not lost on us whatsoever. But man, say that one more time so that everybody's listening can hear and really truly understand that.
Let it resonate that the mortgage is the financial cornerstone of your portfolio. So most people have a mortgage, they have a 401k provided through their job, and maybe a small IRA or stock portfolio outside of that. The mortgage, with the appreciation percentages we're seeing here, especially in Texas, is going to grow at a more rapid rate, more money in your net worth portfolio. than anything else you can do. So being able to have that cornerstone, that pillar, really strong and really doing the most for you, it's crucial to set yourself up for that ultimate retirement we're all shooting for.
That's right. That's right. Temple, same questions. Like, what for the folks that come in into our model home here, for the prepared buyer, what's your biggest piece of advice beyond what Tanner has talked about?
I think it's similar to what Tanner said, is come in with an open mind. If you bought a house or if you've built a house before with another builder, or even purchased a pre-existing home, I feel like you can get kind of in this pigeonhole of maybe mistrust or something. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I feel like my prepared buyers, they always have a lot of questions. I'm happy to answer every question all day, every day. All the questions are great, but I would say come in with an open mind. Like, don't just assume that that there's something underhand going on because it's a builder. I think and something that we've talked about in other podcasts is we don't really have realtors. And so I think a lot of people come in and they're a little iffy about that. Yeah. And so they're like, oh man, I don't know about this. And so just have an open mind. I'm not here to trick you. I don't make a commission. And I think that's a big thing, is there's no pressure here. We want you to just find a home, whether it's with us or somewhere else. And so we just want the best for you. So just open mind for my prepared buyers. Now, my first time home buyers, it's get with the lender. That's going to be the best thing you can do, because if you come in here and we look at this $380,000 home and maybe you're only pre-qualified for $320,000, well, that may not feel as good as the $380,000. It's still going to be beautiful, but maybe you're thinking it's going to be bigger. And so it's better, we can't put genie back in the bottle once it's been released. And so getting with that lender as soon as you can, before maybe you even go and look at homes. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing. And then knowing that we've got you, like all the way through the process, I'm right here beside you. Our whole team is right here beside you. You're going to meet every single person on this team, and we're all going to have your back. And if you work with one of our preferred lenders like Tanner, he's going to have your back, and he knows our processes. And so what is usually a really stressful process should be as easy as it can be. There's still going to be stress. You're buying a house, but we're going to try and make it as easy as possible for you.
Yeah, that's very well said. Last thing that I have really before we wrap up is new construction lending is different than lending on existing homes. That's something, Temple, you and I have talked about a lot. We've had buyers in the past that you talk about the stressful aspects, and sometimes they didn't heed the warning of get with a preferred lender that knows and understands new construction lending. Tanner, can you talk a little bit about how new construction lending is different than lending on an existing house?
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest piece that's different between new construction and an existing home is going to be your escrow account. So your tax escrow specifically are going to be, at closing, going to be based on the raw land, because the county has not assessed on the improvements at this point. So again, it comes down to a tailor-made approach to the borrower. Can you escrow the full $350 a month? Absolutely, and we'd be happy to. And then yes, you can still get the homestead exemption afterwards. If someone's short cash to close, or that's their sticking point, what they really want low cash to close, we can escrow as little as $50 a month on those taxes. Now, at the end of the year, you're going to have a bill, but that gives you some time to save up a little bit more money. You'll also enjoy a lower payment that way, and your payment will be based on that $50 a month rather than the full $350. So another way we can offset that interest burden that a lot of people are scared about right now. We can lower their payment by that much until the house is assessed. Now, once it's assessed, your servicers are going to readjust your payment, but at that point, you've enjoyed getting into the house, getting in cheaply, enjoyed that lower payment for a while, and you can ultimately kick that can down the road until you can save up a little bit more money. Just dedicate yourself to saving a little bit so you don't put yourself in a position down the road. Insurance is cheaper on new construction. From an insurance company's perspective, it's new, so there's going to be less concern Yeah, and outside of that, it's just a lower cost of ownership because of the maintenance is going to be lower. If you buy something that's built in 1960 versus 2023, it's reasonable to assume that you're going to have less maintenance, higher, energy efficient products in the house, those types of things. So you're going to have lower utility bills, lower repair bills, and things like that with a new construction.
Yeah.
I'd also want to add, at least on the lending side for us, or something we require of our lenders, is the two-step appraisal. That's not, you don't do that in a regular home purchase. So when we're building, we have the appraisers come out 2 different times. We have them come out, or really they do a desk review. I don't know that they necessarily come out. They're looking at the plans that we provide them in the contract to get their initial appraisal price. And then they come out whenever we're done to finish that appraisal. And what that does is that helps us close on time. When we don't do that and we're waiting until 20 days before closing, because that's when we know, 21 days before closing, we know that we're going to close. When we're waiting for that, then that's when you have those closings get extended, and that can cost the buyer money. And so having a lender like Tanner who already does that, that's part of their process, and they know that about us. That's so huge, at least on my end, because it's one less stressor for that buyer to have to think like, oh man, we're still waiting on appraisal and we were supposed to close a week ago. So I'd say that's a big thing.
And from the buyer's perspective, we don't use appraisers that do the desktop review. They're going out to the house when it's under construction to do the initial review. It's going to be the value subject to completion at that point. Then once it's done, like you mentioned, they come back out, they kind of do the blue tape walkthrough, essentially the same as you all will do with the buyer, and say, yes, the house is done and it's done up to standard. So you have that look from the appraiser while the house is still being built. If there's things that are not correct at that point, has never happened with you all, but with other builders it has, they've caught it and said, hey, we see that you're doing it this way, you need to update that to the current code. So it does really protect them with that model that we use.
Nice, man. Talk a little bit about how interest rates or interest rate locks specifically are different or would be beneficial to be different in new construction, especially if we call it a pre-sold, but somebody that goes out and picks their lot and then picks their house to put on it, and then the time horizon versus what other lenders are able to provide as far as time horizon.
Yeah, so with an existing home build, you're usually looking at a 30-day contract, and you're just at the mercy of the market at that point. Whatever the rates are during that 2-week period going into it, it's kind of what you're stuck with. With new construction, I have the ability to lock up to 365 days, and your build cycle is 120. So from the time you get under contract until about 15 days from closing, we have the ability to navigate the market, look at the technicals, listen to our analysts, and know when those rates are going to go down, so we can lock you at the absolute lowest possible rate.
Yeah. So you're saying that's one of the benefits of new construction, obviously, is to be able to, you have a little bit longer time horizon to be able to specify, okay, we lock today, or we wait 3 weeks or a month until the Fed comes out, or the Fed is going to come out and say something different.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really, really good stuff. Okay. Tanner, is there anything else really that we should cover from a 30,000-foot view in regards to your home financial journey with Sidar Builders?
No, I would just say that if you're even at all interested in buying a house in the near future, whether that's 6 months, a year out even, come talk to Temple, talk to me. You can kind of see what the market is now. We can have a conversation to start setting you up for success. Because when you look at like credit repair, you can look at time and money as your 2 factors. How do we boost that score? Right. You talk now, you're going to save yourself a lot of money in the future, not only from, hey, you have this collection, you have this high utilization credit card. We can start to manipulate your financial situation now and put you in a better spot down the road. So obviously, we don't live in a perfect world, so you don't always have that luxury. But if you listen to us and come talk now, you will put yourself in a better position in the future.
Yeah. Temple, anything really to add to that specifically?
No, I really can't think of anything. I feel like Tanner hit it on the head.
Yeah, I do too. Well, one thing that I want to make sure that I do is talk about our mission, vision, and culture at Sidar Builders. And so, at Sidar Builders, we serve first because our Lord and Savior served us first, Jesus Christ. We build intentionally because for us, man, there is no other way. You see level of intentionality and consistency in everything that we do, and we hope that you see that. And then we impact community. So we know that we have an impact on our community and the people around us. And it's our deep hope, it's our desire that we have a positive impact on the people that surround us, our buyers, our trade partners, and our lenders as well. And so, Tanner, not only were you our guest here, but you're also our sponsor. So, man, we thank you so much, you and Guaranteed Rate, so much for being a part of the Sidar Cast today. And we look forward to maybe another one sometime here in the future.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And if nothing else, come by and see Temple. Anybody that's listening, come by and see Temple in our latest subdivision called Royal Hills Village on Golden Road here in Tyler. Our model home is open from 9 in the morning till 6 in the evening, Monday through Friday. And thanks for joining us.